I'm not fishing for an early Christmas present here, but I never have a tape measure around the house when I need one. Mind you, I've certainly bought more than one at Home Depot. They just always seem to disappear. And I'm not blaming my kids, though they do love to pull the measuring tape out all the way just to watch it rapidly contract. They just seem to go missing. Inevitably, as I did this past weekend, I find myself with a carpenter square in hopes of marking off the distance of something, trying to remember, was that 5 or 6 feet so far? I've wondered if John had the same problem in Revelation 11. He tells us, I was given a reed like a measuring rod and was told, go and measure the temple of God and the altar with its worshipers. Now, for his sake, I hope it was a big reed. If you know the book of Revelation, you know what's coming next. John is given a caveat. But exclude the outer court, do not measure it, because it has been given to the Gentiles. They will trample on the holy city for 42 months. Now, there are a number of competing interpretations for what's about to follow. Those who are dispensationalists or who take the prevalent modern interpretation of Revelation that this is projected forward and that this is a literal restored temple in the actual city of Jerusalem. In this view, the worshipers are the remnant of believing Jews. You know, my guess is that many of you watching are probably thinking, duh, what else could this be? Let me invite you to keep an open mind. Before we press further into chapter 11, I want to confess I skipped a verse. Chapter 10, verse 11 states, then they said to me, you must prophesy again about many peoples and nations, languages, and kings. Now, it's immediately after this call to prophecy, and not incidentally after eating the sweet and the sour scroll, that John is given the reed and commanded to measure the temple. The question is, are these things related? That is the action of measurement connected to the scroll and prophecy? Or have we opened up into another section? Let's see. There are a number of times in Scripture that prophets are called to measure things. One of the more notable is found in the book of Ezekiel. In Ezekiel 40, in chapter 40, Ezekiel sees the vision of an angelic being with a measuring reed who measures the temple. Now, unlike many of the Old Testament occurrences, the command upon John is different in that he's told to measure certain things and not others. The temple, altar, and its worshipers, just not the outer court. Now, how are we to understand what this means? The Greek word for temple here is naos. There's another Greek word for temple, hieron, but John uses the former naos. Now, throughout John's gospel, when John references the literal temple, he uses the word hieron. But there are 3 instances in John's gospel when he uses the word naos. Chapter 2, verse 19, Jesus answered them, destroy this temple, and I will raise it again in 3 days. In the gospel, John uses the word temple, naos, for Jesus' body. Now let's think back to Revelation 3, or perhaps forward now. Do you remember what Jesus promised in verse 12? He said, the one who is victorious, I will make a pillar in the temple of my God. Jesus references a temple made not with physical bricks and stones, but with us. This shouldn't come as a surprise. It's what Paul references in writing to the Corinthians and the Ephesians, and Peter states in 1 Peter 2. We are living stones being built up to be the temple of his presence. Is that what John is referring to? Well, we'll continue this next time.